And joining me on the phone now is Mr. Jim Hyerchek. He's the Chief Market Analyst of Brewer Investment Group. Jim, good to talk to you again.
Okay, Dan, how are you?
Well, I'm doing real well, Jim. Now, we've been talking about foreign exchange, otherwise known as Forex, here for a few weeks on the program. And I'm really getting an education of how rapidly this can change, because on last week's show, you and I were talking about the rather moribund performance of the dollar and how other currencies were getting stronger against that. And then, of course, what happens this week? The dollar has a rebound.
Well, it does change very fast. But if you look back at how the market has moved this year, we've basically been in a weaker dollar position since about March 6th, when all the stimulus money really started to kick in and started to move stock markets higher. So we do get trends, but during these transition periods, like we're going through this week, the market tends to get very choppy. We've already had a two-sided market this week where the dollar was up for about 5 days, and then today it's given back almost 50% of those gains in just one day.
So that's got to, for someone who's involved in Forex trading, I mean, that's telling you that they've got to pay pretty close attention to what they're doing. I mean, is that a general consensus when you're involved in that?
If you're going to be a short-term day trader, obviously you have to stay on top of it. But if you are a mid to long-term type trader, you should be paying attention to what the central banks do, because they don't tend to change their minds very often. They tend to stay with either a tight money or a loose money policy. So once you can see what the central bank is going to do, for, in our case, the Fed, or in case of the Euro, the European Central Bank, once you see the direction that they're taking, whether they're hiking rates or lowering rates, that tends to give you the general trend. And so you can position yourself for long-term moves or short-term moves.
Now, what we've seen here in the news late this week, of course, is that the American economy has essentially rebounded. It has moved out of what we call the academic definition of a recession. Do you think, from an analysis point of view, that that's going to have any kind of a positive effect on the dollar and its overall position within the world's currency?
Well, if we are out of the recession, then we could see a short-term downtrend again, a resumption of that downtrend in the dollar, as traders will once again have an appetite for higher risk assets, and that will pressure the dollar and rally commodities and stocks. However, there is a point where the economy will get a little more robust than expected, and that'll actually strengthen the dollar. So it's a very fine line between a weak dollar and also a strong dollar. But right now, this week, the dollar looks like it's going to finish in a weaker position, or at least where it was last week.
So we saw a real change this week, as you mentioned earlier. The beginning of the week, the dollar was showing some strength. There was some pressure on the oil markets because of increased supplies and inventories. And as we got towards the end of the week, the dollar took another turn south, so to speak. So we've seen a lot of movement just in this 1 4 or 5 day period.
Exactly, and this is what I was saying before about a transition period. We saw the Australian Central Bank raised rates earlier in the month. We see reports of other central banks around the world talking about pulling their stimulus money out, and also about hiking rates. So as we go through this type of transition period from loose money to tight money, you're going to see position traders moving money around rather quickly.
Really a fascinating education that we've been getting talking to you, Jim. I really appreciate you being on the program. Again, it's Jim Hyerchek. He is the Chief Market Analyst of Brewer Investment Group. They're out of Chicago. If you'd like more information about Brewer, more information about Forex and foreign currency exchange, visit their website, brewerfuturesgroup.com. Jim, thanks so much. See you next week.